Dear students, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to begin new chapter Across Three Millennia. In this lesson, two stories are running parallel to each other. One story is set in the ancient Greek period and another in the distant future. If both are read simultaneously, it may become a bit confusing for us. So in order to avoid confusion, let's make part 1 and part 2. And in the part 1, we are going to learn the first story, which is written in italics. So let's begin. I will read the paragraphs slide by slide and I will try to explain. So listen attentively. Philip gazed at the abacus. The lines of the green beads danced before his eyes. There was a bit of shade from the fig tree, but even so sweat trickled down his brow. His heart was hammering. Calm down, he told himself fiercely. You have used an abacus before. He looked again at the battered old calculator on the table. What was it? Cleon had always told his pupils. Yes, that was it. The abacus can never die. Let me tell you the meaning of the word millennia. It means a period of 1,000 years. Meaning of the abacus is the tool used for counting. And the meaning of the word beads is small glass or wood pieces. So when Philip saw the abacus, he was perplexed, he was confused, he felt as if the beads on the abacus were dancing. He was so much confused that his heartbeat increased and he was sweating, although there was shade from fig tree. He was trying to calm himself, remembering his teacher. He was looking at the all broken calculator and comforting himself. Now let's read further. Philip shifted on the tool and looked towards the side. A gang of slaves was hard at work digging the foundations. Suddenly he saw the foreman coming back, and with him was Simon, the architect. The two men were talking earnestly as they walked, and once or twice Simon stopped and consulted a scroll he was carrying. So now here we see Philip shifted on the tool and looked outside. He saw a gang of slaves working. He also saw the supervisor and Simon the architect. He saw them busy in consulting and looking at scroll once or twice. Let's read further. Philip leaped to his feet, but the architect and foreman took no notice of him. They gazed towards the side and carried on their conversation. Oh, it will be superb, Simon burst out suddenly. We really are building a temple worthy of Apollo. May he shine forever, murmured the foreman dutifully. They stood for a while in silence. Then Simon went on in a thoughtful tone. You know, there is a man in Athens who says the sun is a mass of flaming material and the moon's light is just a reflection of the sun. The foreman shook his head at the very thought of such weird ideas. Here we see Philip jumped on his feet to get the attention, but the supervisor and the architect did not notice him because they were so busy in conversation. Simon said, "It will be super and beautiful temple we are building of Apollo." And the supervisor dutifully murmured, "May he shine forever." They stood in silence for some time, and after a while, Simon said, You know that there is a man in Athens who says sun is mass of flaming materials and the moon's light is just reflection of the sun. And hearing this, the supervisor shook his head for such a weird and strange thought. Now let's read further. So you are the young man asking for work, said Simon. Philip nodded. Yes, sir. Know anything about architecture, building works? Philip lowered his eyes. Nothing, sir. Simon put his scroll on the small table and sat down on a stool. Well, I could certainly do with a bright boy. Simon narrowed his eyes. But why should I choose you? Here we see the architect Simon asked Philip, "Are you asking for work?" Philip replied, "Yes." "Do you know about architecture, building works?" asked Simon. Lowering his eyes, Philip said, "No, sir." Looking at his scroll and sitting on his stool, Simon said again, "I could surely give you work to such a young boy. But why should I choose you?" Now let's read further. Philip drew a deep breath. "Because I desperately need the work, and if I don't earn any money soon, my mother and sister and I will starve." "No, don't say that. It may be true, but don't say it." "Because I will work hard and I learn quick," Philip stammered out. And you won't be sorry if you take me on. Really, you won't." Simon gazed at him for a few seconds. "Well, I should be able to give you a trial." He reached over and picked up the abacus from the table. When Philip heard that why should be given him a work, he breathed long and desperately said, "Because I need work, and if I don't work, my mother, sister, and I will starve soon." Simon said, "It may be true, but don't say that." So Philip somehow said again, "I will work hard and I will learn quick. And sir, you will not be sorry if you take as your employee, as your worker." Simon looked at him and after a few seconds said, "I should first give you a trials." He then picked up abacus from the table. Now let's read further. Simon spun a bead of the abacus. "I do need someone with a head for figures. It's helpful when my clerk's away." Philip sat on the stool trying to look like someone with a head for figures. Simon twirled his dark beard and looked straight at Philip. "You can manage basic calculations, can't you?" Yes, said Philip. Simon put the abacus in his hand. "Okay, let's see what you can do." He unrolled his papyrus scroll again and surveyed it. Philip held the abacus on his lap and tried to stop the shaking of his hands. "Stay calm," he told himself furiously. "You can use an abacus. You were all Clan's best people before you had to stop school. You can't have forgotten." Simon's voice broke in. "Add 350 and 75. In this long paragraph, we see Philip sat on the stool, hearing this, trying to look like a knowledgeable and wise person. Looking at Philip, Simon asked, "Can you manage calculations?" Philip said, "Yes." Simon handed over the abacus to Philip and said, "Let's see what you can do." He surveyed the scroll and said, "Add 350 and 75. When the abacus was given to Philip, he was shivering. He was calming himself. He was gathering courage, remembering his school days and his school teacher. Now let's read further. Philip gave a little shake to get all the beads down to the side of the abacus. Then he took a deep breath and set up the 350. None of the first unit's row, 5 beads on the second, the tens row, 3 beads on the third, the hundreds row. Well, that was easy enough. Now add on the 75. Philip moved 5 beads over on the units row. That was fine. Then he looked at the tens row. He couldn't move 7. There weren't enough. Don't panic, you know what to do, he told himself. He moved one beat over from the hundreds row, then three back from the tens row, and read his answer off 425. Simon nodded matter of factly. That's it. A subtraction now, I think. In this paragraph, we see Philip gave little shake to get all the beads down the side of the abacus, and taking a deep breath, he set up 350. Well, that was easy, but now to add 75, he thought to himself. He moved 5 beads on the units row, and it was all right. But he couldn't move 7 because there were not enough beads. He moved one bead over from the hundreds row, then 3 back from the tens row, and read his answer off 425. Simon nodded to approve the fact. Then Simon gave him subtraction. Let's read the next paragraph. The sun was high in the sky now. Philip was vaguely aware that the slaves had stopped for a break, but his whole body was tense, waiting. Subtraction. He prayed that he would be able to do it. He thought of what his teacher Cleon had told him. The abacus is always right. If there is a mistake, it is you. The architect nodded and glanced towards the site. Last one now. 5,000 take away 5. Philip got the work. The hundreds lines would need 9 beads in it. He counted them one by one as he pushed them over. Soon he had finished. He looked at the result 4,895. He was just about to say it when something stopped him. But how could it be wrong? He was quite sure he had moved all the beads correctly. And an abacus couldn't be wrong, could it? Could he trust his own judgment against the calculator? Simon was waiting for his answer. Philip's head was buzzing. So by this time it was noon, the sun was high in the sky, and slaves had stopped working for break. And Philip was hardly aware. He was tense and waiting. Subtraction. He prayed that he would be able to do it. He also thought of school teacher and his words that the abacus is always right. If there is a mistake, it is you. The architect Simon, looking at the site, said, 5,000 take away 5. Philip counted beads and pushed them one by one, and soon finished. He looked at the result 4,895. He was just about to say the result, but something suddenly stopped him. He checked again, but there was confusion whether it was right. Simon was waiting for the answer, but Philip was buzzing. Let's read further. Philip made his decision. 4,995, he said. Philip looked down so as not to meet Simon's eyes, and then he stared. For there, by his bare feet, were 2 bits of green pottery, 2 halves of the sort of bead you would find on an abacus. His heart leapt. He looked up at Simon the architect and his new employer. So we see finally Philip made the decision and said 4,995, and it was right answer. So Philip was selected for the job, and he was happy and looked at the eyes of the architect Simon.